What up, everybody? This your boy Black Magus, and been a couple of days since I've done a video. Apologies. Busy week at work, but this doesn't mean that I'm taking a huge hiatus. It's part of the reason why I want to do something today. Lots of things going on, so this video I'm just gonna probably sum up some stuff that I will be talking about and posting in the future, near future, in fact. Uh, NFL draft is occurring, um, and of course, everybody is excited for their teams. My Commanders picked a quarterback. I'm glad they got Daniels. I wish they would have played the situation a little differently. Like, honestly,
Yeah, I'm
I
joining.
get trading how they don't want anybody in the way of Daniels or anybody, like,
I don't know if you can hear it.
kind of building controversy. Maybe avoiding that Griffith Cousins controversy type thing. I don't know.
I mean,
But it's a new
that's
regime,
about all I can do.
clean slate, and at least they're giving Howard an opportunity to go somewhere else and maybe do some things. I personally would have kept him for this year.
I know
I
it's
don't
not
know if
very
I would
loud.
have drafted a quarterback, to be quite honest. And the reason I say this is because the team's awful. The team's not good. The offensive line is awful. Of course, later rounds you can get some offensive linemen, and hopefully they work out and help this kid pick up some offensive linemen in free agency, maybe training camps and all that. But you're gonna need to protect that asset, and I get why you draft a quarterback if you have a high pick and you don't have your future quarterback. But I just feel like I know they say it's a win now league, but god damn it, you're not gonna necessarily win now. Like literally win now. Like I can't think of many situations where a quarterback got drafted, came in the year he got drafted, and then everything fell into place and they won the Super Bowl. Like I can't remember.
Okay, so I
It
can
wasn't
get
Tom Brady's
mine.
rookie year they went to the Super Bowl, right? Um, it may have been Ben Roethlisberger. That may be the one that I could point out, but it's historically speaking, yes, they draft these quarterbacks and they do win eventually, but there's time, and not everybody is built to just come in and be told you're going to be the guy who's going to eventually lead us to the promised land, and then they develop into that. I do feel like there is some merit in still trying to develop young talent by
Oh
letting
my
them
God,
sit
he's down to
a
28.
year
He's
or
down to
two,
28. He's down to 28.
learn
He's down to
systems,
28.
see how it is to function as a pro, and
Sorry.
then hand them the reins. Like Patrick Mahomes probably benefited a hell of a lot from sitting that 1 year, like that one full year, and then coming in later in the second year behind a veteran like Alex Smith. And now that would have been the problem with the Commanders. They didn't have a veteran in place. They could have
Wow,
started Jacoby
2 points already.
Brissett maybe, but they didn't have that veteran in place for him to like, okay, young fella, sit. Um, so
Matt.
I get it. You're either gonna have Sam Howell second year and see if he
Yeah,
gets
he's down
better
to
or not.
17 now.
I would have let him have the second year, see if he gets better, take
This
that
call is
pick,
so ridiculous.
and like try to get as many picks as I can because Commanders need offensive line. They're going to need some defensive help.
Oh my God.
They're going to need like a ton of secondary help, especially in my
Nah.
opinion. That secondary is not that. That secondary is just oh my god. Secondary hasn't been decent in God knows how long. It's just a lot of stuff, and I'm again happy to have Daniels. Hope he does well. Hope the team does right by him. That's the thing. Like, if you're gonna draft these young quarterbacks, you have to have a plan in place to do right about them. You can't just be like, yo, this kid's got an arm. He's got all these tools and talent. He's gonna do it. You know, you have to construct a team, and it's not like he's coming to a team that's like constructed. You hope for the Peyton Manning situation every time. You know what I mean? But you're not gonna always get the Peyton Manning situation where they're gonna suffer for a year or two, and then once you take that time while they're suffering to build around them, then once they get the pieces, it's on. But again, saying it's a win now league is stupid because you're never gonna win exactly now. It's still gonna take a year or two, so I'm hoping people, you know, temper your expectations. We're not going to. We're not a good team. We're not going to win this year. Probably not going to win next year. Third year, start to ramp up your expectations because hopefully by then, this new management will have put pieces around him to take the next step and make a playoff run, and then we go from there. And then start thinking about Super Bowls. But it's a process. It's a process that I think, like many things in life, we tend to kind of not pay attention to because of how current social media standards has everybody expecting everything now. You know, quick gratification when it doesn't always like happen like that in every level of life. But yeah, good luck to the Commanders. Good luck to everybody in their teams. I hope you guys have great drafts. You get the pieces that you needed. You know, looks like Kansas City may have found a piece they're going to definitely need with the Rashad Rice thing by drafting that boy from Texas. um, things like that. Also, real quick before I get off the NFL thing, Drake Maye. I'm very curious to see how that goes. Like, I don't dislike Drake Maye, but I just found it very crazy the like glow up that him and JJ McCarthy got leading up to this draft. Is it just me or is it just like these aren't bad quarterbacks? But especially in the case of JJ McCarthy, the assessment of value in them don't translate from what I remember seeing them in college do. You know what I mean? Like, again, especially McCarthy. McCarthy was solid. I'm not saying he was bad. He did what he needed to do to get Michigan where they needed to get. Now, again, we get all these teams drafting these quarterbacks high because they think that these are going to be the future, franchise players. Is McCarthy that guy, or is he still like he's just good enough to get you to what you need him to do? Now, if that's what your thinking is, okay, I have no problem with that. Especially again, you have a strong enough team around him, like he had a strong enough team around him at Michigan. Drake Maye, not so much because he had good players, but it wasn't a supporting cast to lift him and elevate him. And he wasn't necessarily elevating anybody else in college. It's not like you just drafted another Cam Newton where, I know we like to say Cam Newton didn't have any players. There were some good players in Auburn because, damn it, it's an SEC team. Always good players. Especially if you're a top SEC team. They may not be the sexy household names as some of the other SEC teams had back on that team, but they had some good players, and that was a good team. That was a solid team. And Cam was that player to elevate them, and it's just like when he got drafted early, goes to Carolina. Carolina had some good players. Their offense to me was never that great. Like he didn't have a high level of offensive talent like some other quarterbacks who were drafted in position had. He had some good players. He had Steve. If he would have had Steve Smith, I may have made a slightly different argument for if he had him for the majority of his career. But for the most part, Cam elevated that team. Do we see this in Drake Maye and J.J. McCarthy? Are they going to do this for New England and Minnesota, who, to me right now, are two teams that don't have a lot of talent, similar to how, especially for Maye in North Carolina, it's not like they had, the best roster of talent. So, what is Drake Maye going to do to make that franchise better? Like, what are they going to, or better yet, what is that franchise going to do to ensure that Drake Maye is able to do what they need him to do? So, it'll be interesting though. It's funny, I haven't talked sports in a while, and I just spent 11 minutes talking sports. That's crazy, but we shall see. I hope he does well. I hope Drake Maye does well. I hope J.J. McCarthy does well. I hope everybody does well. Sucks when these kids, especially when they're elevated to the positions that they are now, like Mitch Trubisky. It sucks that he had to go through that, because all these experts and all these people decided to put him in that position instead of being able to go somewhere. I hope they don't end up like the Mitch Trubisky situation, because it's something that could definitely happen with both of those two fellas. Oh, and shout out to Atlanta for drafting Penix. I know I said I was going to end this, but I had to mention this really quick because if you know me, you know I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan. I always thought Kirk Cousins was one of the most overrated players out there. He doesn't get paid what he's worth. I think he's very skilled, puts up great numbers. He don't win. Never really went. Look, yes, he has some good regular season records with the Vikings. But when it comes to stepping up and the big moment, nah, he's not that dude. He'll get you his stats to make you think he's that dude. He ain't that dude. He's never been that dude. But he's always been paid like he's been that dude. Which just irked me, because when he was here in Washington, it kept franchising. Hold on. Should we keep him? No. Look at the records. He just had the numbers.
They're in that tunnel under the
But now he's in a situation where Atlanta weirds me out because they gave him all that money and they draft this quarterback for the future, which they need to because Kirk Cousins is not going to be around. But you draft an older quarterback, that's one. So you're gonna have to push that button on it. It's probably going to be the Alex Smith Mahomes situation. Which, if it is, why'd you give him all that money? But if it's not, and if it's more of a Favre, Rodgers, Love situation, you're gonna get to that guy when he's in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, and it could work because we've seen it work, sort of before, where Joe Montana leaves. Steve's, why did I forget his name? But his backup comes in and wins a couple of championships. But that situation is slightly different because he actually did start young in Tampa and then was a backup for a while and then came in. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works. But, hey, Kirk, did you like that? Seriously, did you really like that? That's just all I want to say. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to have to talk about the Shannon Sharpe interviews. The Club Shay Shay. Much as I like Shannon Sharpe, I swear to God, like, I think he needs to steer his show in a different direction. Yes, that Katt Williams interview generated a lot of like eyes on it, and for what it's worth, like I didn't sit and watch the whole thing, but some of the stuff I saw, it was amusing, it was entertainment. Um, it wasn't no big eye-opening, jaw-dropping thing. At least to me, like people make it out.
Yo, what's funny is
Because
rushing
I
them
saw it for
and it
what it's
works.
worth. I saw Katt Williams, who very, very entertaining, very, very engaging,
Over here,
knowing how to work
where I'm pointing at.
the crowd, knowing how to say and do the things that were going to draw attention to the interview, and turning into success outside of that. Because now he's going to get the live Netflix show. His tours have been selling out since then. Like, he did what he needed to do. He put himself in a position to benefit and capitalize off that. And he didn't need to be slapped to do it. Even better, he didn't have to have a like moment like Chris Rock had to cause a resurgence. He did it all naturally himself, just by things he said. Whether you think they're real or not, doesn't matter. They're engaging. They draw your attention. You know, they tickle your intrigue. It's stuff like that. So, kudos. And since then, you've been getting people trying to follow that stuff up on Shannon Sharpe's platform, no less. Such as Monique, hers. She pretty much tried to do the same thing. I don't think it's worked out as well for her as it did Katt Williams or for anybody else, because I think the comedian Godfrey had a similar type interview where he was like, calling out names and calling out things like that, might be sprinkled with a little bit of truth, but because they're controversial or they're conspiratorial and that is a very attractive thing, and because he was being messy. Let's be honest. Key element of this is mess. Being messy is very, very popular these days. So you can get a lot from being messy. And now you have this Amanda Seales thing where now I feel like Shannon's starting to get some of the ire, because apparently people think that he was being more dismissive towards her than anybody else. And again, it's not something I watched, but I've seen the comments about how she talks about how basically just about every situation that she's been involved where she's been getting controversy or heat for, it's all been framed that it's just people just they aren't capable of handling her because she's smarter than them, because she, doesn't cower to them and stuff like that. It's not me who caused the problem in the situation. It's them and their problem with handling someone like me that is the reason why things didn't work. And I could feel Shannon if he wanted to push, if he was being dismissive, because you constantly hear somebody say and point out, hey, the problem is they just don't, know how to deal with me, or you kind of like everything that happens, you're framed as the victim by yourself. It can get tiring, and some of us can actually start to see that to the point where, we just don't want to listen because we see the pattern. It seems like you're in the same type of situation, yet you don't want to ever address why you keep getting into that situation. Like, why is it like all these situations always are the same? And the thing is, like, Shannon Sharpe ain't the person to have these types of interviews. Um, like, just straight up, he's not like. I don't like Shannon. I'm not like dismissing his, intelligence, professionalism, none of that. But some people aren't. That's not what they do. Like, he's very, very good at being a sports analyst. He's very, very good at talking with people in a you know, friendly conversational manner and things like that. But when you want to have these interviews with these people who have these controversial backgrounds, who are known to be volatile and to say certain things, you know, controversial figures who may have had something in their past that people are going to want to hear about and want to get their perspective and see if they, see if they buy it or not, or see if they agree, what have you, however you want to frame it. Shannon Sharpe's not someone who is naturally good, and he said it even after the Katt Williams thing. Like, he even admitted that to himself. So it's not like it's something that he doesn't know, but at the same time, if it's something that you know, you might want to stop doing these type of interviews. I get why he wants to do those interviews, because all those interviews have garnered him large viewership. And again, mess sells. He knows that mess sells. We all know deep down that mess sells. Some of us will prescribe to that mess because we know that it'll get attention. So, rocking a hard place, I guess, for him. Like, it's financially lucrative to him, but it ain't his natural element. It ain't what makes his show shine the best, at least to me. His show shines the best when he's actually able to do those friendly conversations, having a drink, and just like shooting the shit with people. But now I feel like he's put himself in a position where he's going to have issues and potentially lose any momentum that he's built from this, because now he seems to always have to go to the mess to have that big, viewership. And it's like, once you become a slave to that type of shit, someone will find another way to do it in a better way than you, or people just get tired of you because you're going to start perhaps doing what a lot of people have been saying he did during the Amanda Seales interview, which is you're not going to just let it happen. You're going to start to maybe be dismissive or combative or things like that. It's like, no, too late. We ain't here for this. This is not the type of show that you were giving us. We want the show where you just sit there and you laugh and you giggle and you be like, oh no, that can't be true, and stuff like that, and just let it happen. And if this Amanda Seales thing is like his turning point where he's going to not let that happen again, people are going to go somewhere else, because you can find plenty of mess on the internet. Lord knows you can find mess. Everybody wants to be messy on social media, and they'll go to that. And more importantly, they'll go to a place where they can say the things that people like Amanda Seales, Monique, and Katt Williams can say, that they can feel like, yep, see, this is how I always felt, and that's the way it is. Again, the conspiratorial things, the controversial things, the things that let you know, hey, it ain't me, it's them. People go and just sit there. And it's funny because
right here at the back door.
It kind of points out something that I know a lot of people are not gonna like when I say this, but it points out the fact why people like, and I don't like her either. People
Oh
like
no,
Gayle
somebody else
King
already sat there.
are good at what they do
Headshot.
because they maintain the role of an interviewer and they do it. If it's a controversial figure, they will push back and they will prod and they will probe and they will point towards things. It's just like you see now with a lot of it's the
Cat
it's
upstairs.
and again, I hate to say this, but it's the
Alright.
do you want Fox News or do you want old school CNN? Because even CNN does this now, where they'll let people just say certain things and not really push back. Most media now don't do any pushback or don't like try to point out facts and things like that because that's not entertaining. It's not entertaining to I'm sure a lot of people didn't find it entertaining for Gayle King when she interviewed R. Kelly to push back on certain things and to not just let him go off the rails and say whatever he wants without any type of challenge or
Dumbass.
any type of correction. No, you're supposed to just let me say what I want to say and then let people take it and do what they will after they hear it. You know, you don't get that a lot, and it's one of the reasons why she's probably one of the better people. She may not be a good human being, or may not be the most likable person, but at her job, she good. She does what the media generally is supposed to do. Yeah, but social media has changed a lot. It's changed a lot of how we do things, how we view things. Going back to sports, sports analysis ain't the sports analysis that it used to be because you kind of have to have that you know, general appeal, and you have to do things in a way that caters to that appeal, not just
We got all the kills for the team. Okay.
do your job. You know. So hey, it is what it is, though.
I guess the other guy showed up too late.
Seems like the Amanda Seals thing was entertaining. She threw the charm out there. Now we can sit here and talk about is Issa Rae a bad person, or like people like Issa Rae don't care, they sell out or something like that because she didn't protect Amanda Seals and now Amanda Seals not protected. That was a weird thing. But it's by the way though, y'all gotta be careful with these people, especially these people who like her are able to eloquently state points. People who show they at least show, not necessarily always true for her. I'm sure it is being a Columbia graduate and all that, but show they have a bit of knowledge on something, or at least are able to frame things as if they're very knowledgeable. Um, when it comes to certain things and show that intelligence by the way they carry themselves and the way they talk. You have to be very careful not to fall into the spell of always wanting to believe everything herself, because I heard in that interview as she's saying all this stuff about the people who don't like her, the reasons why her career's been held back, her intelligence being a threat, you know, all these things like that. I heard she mentioned that she was autistic, and people like, oh, damn, that's fucked up. So this is again another reason why she's having such a hard time because people don't, people as a society we don't deal with disabilities and people's struggles, you know, be it a mental disability, physical disability, you know, issues of health of any kind. We don't deal with that well in society. Not in American culture, is in my mind. We don't. We don't try to understand or try to, you know, take stuff into certain things in consideration. And of course, with minorities, it tends to be a bigger challenge. You know, being a woman, a black woman, and being autistic. You know, that's three things that people are going to take, and they can very well use it against you, or they can very well like put you in a like certain like category, a whole, not treat you fairly, and not try to find a way of being inclusive and all of that. That being said, after the interview, it comes out that she says like, "Well, I haven't actually been officially diagnosed with autism by a doctor," and it's like, okay, see, this is where you have to watch these things. You have to watch, some of the things like for me with the Katt Williams, um, the whole dress thing. Like it's an old trope. It's something that has been said over time and time again about like once you put a black man in a dress, that's you trying to emasculate him. That's you like ruining their careers. That's you like doing this, that, and the third. Like it's a weird bit of our culture, to be quite honest, to me, because perhaps it's because we're not a part of their cultures, but I have never seen other cultures do that. Like most popular actors in Japan at one point in history were the guys who dressed up as women, partially because women weren't allowed to play certain roles or in life, such as acting. That was one of the reasons why you had a lot of guys dressing as women in certain cultures. Um, but even over the years, like I've never once heard anybody talk about how Robin Williams' career took a hit from Mrs. Doubtfire. He went on to do so many other things, and is celebrated for Mrs. Doubtfire. Dustin Hoffman, I believe, got nominated for an Oscar for Tootsie for playing a woman. You know, as someone said before, we never look back at Tom Hanks' career and it was like, damn, just think of how much better his career could have been had he not did Bosom Buddies, where he dressed up as. It's like none of that stuff held any of those three back from having great careers after it. But Eddie Murphy didn't win an Oscar because he did Norbit. You know, again, it's a weird bit of our culture as black people for that. So when you hear Katt Williams, for me, say that, it's like, okay, see, he said because he refused to not wear the dress that he lost out, and people just didn't want to because he won't conform and let them treat him. It's like, okay, all right, those are like that's an element from that, you know. Monique's history with her, children. You heard her regurgitate some of that stuff, and it's like, okay, so we've heard this before, and that though, that to me was a red flag that you brought this up. Certain red flags like that, and the autism thing. It's like these people speak so well, and they make their points sound so good, but in the middle of all of this, you got to pay attention enough to see like there's certain things that should be red flags, and those were the three red flags for me for those three. People will always, people love the hustle, and people love a hustler. I don't know, especially in our culture, we love hustlers. We love people who are able to game, the system to find a way to make something happen from nothing and thrive, in it, even if what they're doing may not be so above board or anything like that. They getting it. That's the thing. They're able to get it, and they're able to frame things to make it look like, hey, I'm still gonna be me and do this, and I can still get what I want, despite them trying to stop me. We all love like a motherfucker that wins against the odds, and people love to frame things to make it seem like I'm still winning against the odds, or if they're not winning, like, well, that's because I'm just too real for them. But I'm still gonna keep out grinding. Like, we love that, you know. But not all these people are doing it the way that they say, and they're also hustling you because they know who to like cater to. They're hustlers, so don't ever think that they're necessarily for you or they're like you. At the end of the day, you're a commodity to them too. So you have to be careful and not just, and I get it. I honestly get it because we all like to find people and find things that speak to us. But again, this era of social media and this era where mess is the highlight. I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, you just be careful, and if anything, do like me, find the entertainment in it, and then move on. Just find the entertainment in that shit and move on. Because again, not saying everything that they said may be a lie or maybe a game. But if anything, I could see like all three of those interviews and messiness having its entertainment value. But I'm gonna focus in on the entertainment value, and I'm not going to like if it's something that speaks to me and I can understand. I'll agree, but at the end of the day, you gotta have your own perception and not just fall in with the crowd and be like, oh, this person said this and everybody else seems to agree. Must be something true about it, so this is the way it should be. Like, don't be afraid if you do find something that doesn't seem to sit right, to just be like, yeah, I don't agree, but that is what it is. Like, because they're celebrities, and they need you to like them to like make money. Like, that's just the bottom line. Like, so the more people they can get on board, the more money they can make. And some people will do it however they can to get there. Some people are just really good at just naturally just drawing people. Um, but the lines blur. The lines definitely do blur. So I don't know. I've just rambled for no reason, but yeah, interesting stuff with those interviews. Um, Lastly, I'm gonna go to some gaming stuff. I know, Lord help me, I should have talked about this in the beginning, but you know, been sitting here, playing. I haven't played anything new, which I've been looking for something new to play. I also been considering potentially getting a PS5. I think, of course, during the pandemic, everything was fucked up. There was no way financially, and right now things aren't the best financially for me either. That being said, they're trending on the up, you know, and eventually I'm going to want to have a PS5. Now the question is, what PS5 am I going to get if the rumors are true? Because of course there's been talk about the PS5 Pro, the leaks and stuff like that. And I meant to talk about this a while ago. I apologize. Again, I need to do more gaming stuff. I know a lot of people who watch my channel love it when I talk about the gaming space. And I need to get back into that. Like, I really do. I really do. But PS5 Pro, or whatever they may call it, if it is true, it's interesting because from what they're saying, it's going to be so much more powerful. You know, so many more features and things like that. And it's just like, for me, like, okay, I get it. It worked the last time. PS4 Pro did great. I have a PS4 Pro now. Reason I have a PS4 Pro, of course, is probably a lot different than other people. It wasn't because I saw, oh, it's the upgrade. Boom, let me get that new thing. No, my day one PS4 actually was dying, and I was somehow able to like get GameStop. This is why y'all going out of business, by the way. But I was able to get GameStop to give me $175 in credit for it. Take that $175 in credit, and then put the rest, in cash and card to the you know PS4 Pro. I basically only had to kick in a couple of $100 to get it. You know. So yeah, of course I'm gonna get it. My shit's dying. I ain't gonna have a console, and I want a console. You're gonna give me money for this dying console? Bet. Save me some money. Boom. And that's why I have a PS4 Pro. Not because I felt like I needed to get one, because up until it stopped working, I could run everything. Now it is becoming like that point in the generation. We've seen it start last year, where you can only get certain games if you have the new system. Cool, I understand. But now with this potential Pro, it seems like it's going to be a whole brand new console. And I don't feel like we should be as compelled as we were with the PS4 Pro. Like, I know a lot of people's point of upgrading was, oh, finally I get to get like quote unquote 4K and uh, the option for 60 frames per second and blah blah blah, stuff like that. With this, well, you're gonna get enhancements on things that the PS5 already give, but I really do feel like we're at that point where I said we're going to get with these consoles and with graphics cards and CPUs and stuff like that. Everything now is just enhancing the details. I think we're at a point now where most people can generally say,
somewhere back here, I saw the icon.
If the developers know what they're doing, you can get that, optimum experience.
Damn.
From games, visually, frames wise, all of that, we're there. Now you're starting to really go into the details. Better, facial details, expressions, and better, lighting, reflections are better, all that stuff. We're boiling down to the point where, other than refreshing and like being able to add to the limits in which developers are able to push, ain't that much like room for, at least to me. Maybe I'm not seeing it, and if you see it, please let me know what the next thing is, but ain't that much room for innovation within the space. At least not from the visual level for me, and not from some of the technical levels for me. There are good, but there's always going to be room for innovation on the nuances, and that's what we're exploring now. We're exploring the nuances. So, do we need a PS5 Pro? No. Sony could wait until the next generation. I think Microsoft's waiting for the next generation of consoles. They're not in a rush. Although, the difference being Microsoft put their iterations out before they got to a midpoint, because you had the Xbox Series consoles, you have the S and the X, which you can get, I guess, base level and high performance level. They gave you that choice right off the rip instead of a mid generational upgrade. But we'll see. It could work again because it seemed to work last time. The mid generation thing seemed to work well for Sony last time. So maybe that's their thinking. Their thinking is like just keep the pattern. Come out with your base. A couple of years later, like you get improvements to the base, and then a year or two after that, you get the serious upgrade with the Pro version, and then a few years down the line, here's the next one. But maybe that's their pattern of thinking. I don't know. We'll see. Will I get a PS5 Pro? Again, my situation is different from everybody else. I might as well wait if they're gonna drop one because I ain't having PS5 all this time. And I just get the Pro. Like for me, it makes it less of a. Do I really want a PS5 right now? And more of a. I eventually want a PS5, but I'll wait and see what they do if they do a Pro, and then I'll make that decision then. Just made my decision a lot longer coming for that, which sucks because I want to play Spider-Man 2. I really want to play Spider-Man 2. I really want to play Spider-Man 2. And then Wolverine's going to be out probably in the next year or two. So those would be my reasons to press and get a PS5. But other than that, I'm still able to game. I have a lot of stuff in my backlog that I need to clear out. So, and I also want to play Final Fantasy Rebirth too. That's another one. So those are the three games that I would need a PS5 to play. Which also says something about the consoles and the generations. How like, especially with Sony. Sony has always been one to like make the first couple of years of their console dismissive. Because you saw it back with, say, like the PS3. PS3 came out, yep, it's the big new tiny toy. Big new shiny, not tiny toy. Big tiny is, no, that's an oxymoron. Sorry. But big new shiny toy. But not too long, like, before or after it came out, that God of War 2 came to PS2. Why am I getting rid of my PS2? Yeah, backwards compatibility, blah, 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 but shit. I don't have to spend the $500, I think is what it cost when the PS3 launched. At the time, I don't have to spend that $500 to play the new? What the fuck I'm going to do that for? Especially when, like, I think, what was it, Hellblade and a couple other games were what you were pushing in comparison. Nah, keep your thing. And the same thing with, same thing with the PS3 to PS4. Like, y'all just dropped The Last of Us a couple of months before. Grand Theft Auto just came out a couple of months before this thing. Yeah, a lot of stuff that's still coming to this old shit. That I can sit and play this old shit and then wait until y'all populate games for the new shit. Like, now, to their credit, Sony did, like, the year after, start saying, like, we're doing, PS4 versions of The Last of Us.
He got buried.
They're going to do a PS4 version for GTA, like, the biggest games of the end of the last console cycle. So, that motivated some people to start buying that console more. So they can get the, things that are relatively new in a fresh manner on the new console. But this is a mid-generation thing, so now they're gonna make games for both PS5 and PS5 Pro. and now I'm curious if this is gonna work out the same way. We'll see. We'll see. Um, by the way, so interesting thing happened. And then I'll close out this video because I've been talking for about an hour, which I didn't think I could actually do an hour. It's funny. My goal was try to make at least 30 minutes in this, um, and see how it goes. And now I see how it goes. I clearly can talk a lot more than I think I could by myself. So my thinking was making a brief, like 30-minute summation each week, kind of a podcast type thing for you guys. That way, I'll consistently have content coming no matter what. And eventually, talk to my partners from the old days. We used to do podcasts. We can get together and start doing podcasts. You'll actually have podcasts rolling out like it used to be. Um, but I wanted to kind of do this set piece for you guys. So, just to stay in touch and stay, talking about different things with you and let you know I'm still committed to this. But yeah. Um, so, you've probably seen a lot of products come up on my page. And one of the products that came up was, of course, the monitor. And then you saw the death of my Xbox 360 controller, which I'm in agreement with a lot of people. It's probably the best controller ever made. Um, like, very, very solid controller. I'm going to miss my PC Xbox 360 controller. Shout out to the people who, of course, were trying to give me some technical, you know, input on how to quote unquote fix it. No, guys, I would have to take it to a shop and they would have to swap out a component for that trigger. It's dead. And I don't know how much that would cost me. Like, I'm sure I could look it up and see if I could find the part to fix it and maybe even do it myself. But I also saw it as an opportunity to take advantage and see what the new technology is with Microsoft. So I got the. And it's sitting here somewhere. Oh my god, where did I put that thing? Oop. And you just heard me knock something off because I'm looking for the controller. Oh shit, I didn't lose that new controller. I'll find it. It's somewhere in this mess. Anyway, I got the new Xbox One controller. It is a wireless one that can connect Bluetooth, which explain to me how like that shit can connect Bluetooth to PCs and this monitor, and all of that. But y'all still can't not have to have batteries. Like, part of me gets it. Yeah, it's a nice way to get an extra $25 off that battery pack, which I didn't buy, by the way, because um, I'm being resistant, and I know I'm not going to use it as much since I don't have my full PC set up. I just have the monitor to play PC games on uh, through my laptop, which is not that powerful. And so I'm not able to play the games that I would want to play with it. But I took an opportunity to get that tried out. And I'll be doing a review of it soon. But something else that I also ended up getting was the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So here's the deal. The monitor, again, it allows you to stream. And it has Xbox on there. So I figured, let me upgrade, get that. Microsoft, you suck with your upgrade policy. It's so stupid. I ended up having to like reactivate my Game Pass account for the $10 on PC, then paying the full amount to upgrade to fucking Ultimate, and then by doing so, I get a half a month more to the subscription because I had already paid for a month subscription. Tell me how that works. So stupid. So stupid. But since I have Ultimate Game Pass, I'm able to try a lot of the Microsoft games, and I'll be able to give you guys a pretty good assessment, I think, of how Ultimate cloud streaming works. Is it worth the money? Like, I know a lot of people say that getting Game Pass Ultimate is worth it because if you have a console and you have a PC, like if you have an Xbox and you have a PC and you have mobile devices that you're able to game on, it makes sense because you can play games on any of those platforms at any time. Um, since you already have all three of those things together, you know what I mean? Um, but is it gonna be worth it for someone like me who, in the current setup, or like if you're that person who you just don't want to buy the console or have any heavy equipment other than your TV and you have this on your TV, is it worth me going out and getting a controller and investing in this? That's gonna be cool to play with. I've already played a couple of games. I've had good experience. I've had bad experiences. But we'll dive into that in its own separate video. So we're especially going to dive into that controller because the king is dead. Long live the king. I don't think the heir is going to live up to the king, at least from my perspective. But we'll see. We'll see. But yep, glad I'll have this content coming. Glad I decided to do this and make this like kind of a weekly digest and just ramble on about a couple of things that stood out to me over the week that I couldn't get to because of work and other things, such as me having to go buy new glasses and spend $400 on those. Oh my God, adulting is hard. But yep, I think that's it. I think I'm gonna give my voice a rest. I think I'm gonna go chill. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope you have a great week. Please expect this to come on the weekends as a regular thing. It may not be an hour every time, but I'm going to shoot for an hour now that I know that I actually can hit that mark. But, 30 minutes to an hour, just having a conversation about different things that's going on that stood out to me. If you have anything that you want me to discuss, please feel free to say so in the description. It may not be done on this, but I can always put together a quick video and discuss different topics. If I find your suggestion something that I would be more than willing to do. So yeah, all right, you guys, take it easy, take care. Much love. Shout out to all of you. By the way, Incredible Hulk, shout out to you and your comment. Thank you for explaining modern day rap beef to this old man. Really, really do appreciate it. And you'll get another shout out in another video as I plan on doing the follow up to that too. But yeah, shout out to you for your answers. Shout out to all of you guys who commented in the other videos. Shout out to the people who've been watching. I don't get a ton of videos, but I never got a ton of video views. But I always enjoy the engagement that I get, and I always enjoy the fact that somebody out there likes something I do. So I appreciate it. Definitely do appreciate it. All right, you guys, I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.